Alan, here we are on the Metal Voice. And what is it,
Let's
Alan? What are we doing? What are we
get
doing?
the
What are we doing?
party started. Let's get the party started. Here we are, the biggest night of the year. Long
Biggest night of the year.
anticipated top 10. We're
Yes.
down to the top picks for 2023.
Alan, I got a bit of flack. People are saying this is the top 10. They're going top 10. This is not a top 10. You're not going 9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Listen, when we can decide and we have some sort of consensus, then we all go, then me and Alan go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, we can do it. I don't.
Well, no, but we're beyond that, Alan. We can't go back. We can't go back.
We'll know for next year.
So what we're doing this year is there's 10 albums. It's just Alan's 5 and my 5, and we count them backwards. See what I did there? I used the. That's how it works. Okay. So this is our top 10 list, but 5 each. And of course, go ahead.
The Metal Voice top 10.
Yes.
There's lots of good suggestions that come over while we're doing the shows. I was able to go and check out some of the suggestions that weren't on our list.
Yes.
And yeah, some really good suggestions, some great albums. But again, this is our list. And we're going to stick by it.
That's it. We can't go back. We're doing it our way or the highway. Okay. I'm going to say hi, Ron. Hello there. Michael, how you doing? Tanvir is the balance between me and Alan when we're speaking. Is it okay? Am I too loud? Is he too loud? Or is it well balanced? I like to always get a good audio. When you have a shitty audio, it's not a good client experience.
It's not a good client experience. So
all right.
We did something a bit different to build the anticipation. We went down 5, 4, 3, my 3, and we stopped there. So we'll start with your 3. Mm-hmm. And we'll work our way up to the number 1.
And before we hit our number 1s, we're going to bring on our pal Neil Turbin,
West Coast correspondent here at the Metal Voice. West Coast. Is the West Coast preparing? Preparing for the show. Yeah, he's already. He's just waiting for your cue, Reg.
All right. Okay, good. So Neil Turbin will give us his top album of the year and maybe an honorable mention here and there. So here we go, Alan. We're back at number 3. Okay, this is my pick for number 3. Let me just bring it up here. Oh, that's not it. That's the Metal Voice intro. I got all these graphics going. Here it is, number 3, Overkill, Scorched. There you have it. An album that really, took the metal world by storm. Consistency. These guys wrote this album over COVID as they were locked down like the rest of the world was locked down. The idea is the anger, always the anger with Overkill. But I got to say that after so many consistent albums, this is probably a better one than the last one. Not to say the last one wasn't good. This had a lot more anger, very technical, and they've always maintained their thrash roots. Songs like Scorched, The Surgeon, which I love The Surgeon because it's got this, the vocals are just, the phrasing is a very melodic, tribal kind of way of singing it. The whole song, the whole album's great. I mean, I love every track. I'm not going to go through every track. I just loved the anger, the melody, and the tribal sort of drum beats, as well as the bass lines. Just, man, far out. Great bass lines. DD gets better all the time. What'd you think?
Great vocals. I agree with everything you said. And a few of the songs even made our top 10 songs of 2023. So,
yeah. All right.
And it was a bit of a unanimous choice because our good friend Kenny also chose it.
And strange enough,
3 on his list.
And Todd Latore also chose The Surgeon. Well. Yeah. And I'm seeing a lot of...
Maybe it should be number 1. Maybe it should be number 1, Jim. Who knows? Sounds like it was a strong album.
Maybe. So what does everybody think about Overkill? Did it make your top 10 list? And I like what Tanvir says. Punchy and full of attitude. I think that's a great way to sort of summarize this album. That's it. Alan?
Yeah.
You ready for yours?
Sure.
You ready?
Number 2,
Yep.
a band that tends to make the list every time they release an album. This is already their 10th studio album. I'm going with Megalomanium by Eclipse. I mean, they're just too damn catchy to leave off of any list. They're great melodics, great album opener with The Hardest Part Is Losing You. Anthem is a particular highlight off of that. And like I said, the musicianship, the production, the songwriting, everything these guys do. And they're crossing boundaries all over the place. I mean, 100 million streams. I mean, they got to be doing something right. And I can't believe they're already at their 10th album. I've been following them from studio album number 1, live album, and just love everything these guys do. And they're, like I said, they're crossing over. You got the, heavy rock with massive, massive hooks. But they're finding new audiences, new genres. They're transcending genres. They're transcending any type of. They don't want to be pigeonholed, Jim.
No, they don't. I noticed you have a theme this year: Swedish,
really?
Norwegian.
Really?
Well, I mean, okay. Well, who'd you pick? You picked Paramaze. They're Danish.
Okay, that's not Swedish.
They're in the Nordic area, right?
just groups everybody together. Okay. Maybe you're better saying Scandinavia, maybe.
All right, Scandinavian. All right. You got Bloodbound. They were Swedish.
Hey, now that you mention it, yeah.
Now, Bastard Sons. Okay,
all for metal. There was an Italian singer in that, so.
But aren't they Norwegian?
But Paramaze, there's an American. I think an American plays keyboards at Paramaze.
I'm just saying there's a theme here, Alan.
I don't know.
You got a theme going. I don't know.
I didn't realize it until now, Jimmy.
There's you and the Scandinavians. I don't know. There's something going on over there.
Now that you brought it up, you might be right. I never realized that.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you, Alan. It's got a punky, super melodic, super punky, and it transcends genre. So I agree with you on that.
On my list, I had prog metal.
Mm-hmm.
I had power metal. So this is more of melodic metal, is the way I see it. So I'm trying to get a lot of different genres into the top 5. It's only 5, so it's hard to fit everybody in.
Well, you got to take the best of the best. All right, here we go. Let's go to my number 2. This is going to surprise a few people if you're ready for this. Here we go. Doro. Conqueress Forever, Strong and Proud. That's a mouthful.
Isn't it Conqueress Forever, Strong and Proud?
Yes. Conqueress Forever, Strong and Proud.
Okay. Conqueress Forever?
We got the right phrasing
Strong
there.
and
Yes.
Proud.
Conqueress. What can I say?
Conqueress Forever, Strong and Proud.
So I have a theme too. It's women. I think my theme this year has been women. I had Girl School, right? I had Within Temptation, and you have Doro. So I don't know. The women are like firing off on all cylinders.
Very strong album.
You know what? This might be actually my favorite solo album by hers. There's just so much variety. You have your traditional metal there. You got your anthemic songs. You have your punky sort of upbeat Joan Jettish kind of tracks there. You have your Eurovision metal, sort of like it's kind of borders metal and maybe dance, and duet and that kind of stuff. Maybe within the Temptation gothic kind of metal. It's got some gang vocals. It's got some Viking metal. It just has, and it has, of course, duets with Rob Halford, which is Living After Midnight and
Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Which I think, and I even told Doro this, I think I much prefer Total Eclipse of the Heart with you and Rob than, hearing the 1000th version of Living After Midnight, right? Because it's a great song, but we've heard it just so many times. There's nothing new and exciting about that. But I don't know. I think she does it. This was getting even close to maybe my number 1. But
I mean, there's a couple of songs off that could have made our top 10 list for the songs of the year.
Yeah.
There's 2 that were particularly close. For me, standouts are All For You and Rise. I think Rise is the strongest. I don't know if she released it as a single, but I just love that song. think it's one of the strongest on the album. And Doro always carrying the metal flag. Her enthusiasm every time we interview her are second to none. She's just a complete delight. And I wish her all the success in the world with this album. And this is just a fantastic and strong album.
Yep. You know what? Congratulations to her. And after all these years, to make an album better than her prior albums is just it just blows my mind. How we used to think, in your 20s was when bands were, at their peak, right? But we're talking about 50s and 60s now. So, Tanvir says Doro makes me tingle. I'm not going there. I'm not going with tingle. I don't know. And by the way, Alan Tanvir also says, who are you kidding? You've picked power metal, and more power metal. I would say you pick more Scandinavian. It's just running in your blood.
Power metal. I don't know. I don't think so. Anyways, that's the way the chips fall sometimes. This wasn't done on purpose. These are just the albums I find myself going back and listening to. Again, Eclipse was released on the 1st of September.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some late entries coming in. Prior years, I'd get an album early in the year, and that's the one that everybody else has to measure up to. I didn't really find one earlier in the year this year. So some of them are maybe some more recent releases.
Michael's saying, can't wait till I hit 50 so I can peak. Listen, buddy, we're talking musically here. So he can peak. Peak, his musical peak. You know what I mean? I guess.
Who's 50, Doro?
No, Michael. Michael says can't wait to hit. He can't wait till he hits 50 so he can peak. Doro, is that what you're saying? I don't know.
I don't know. Who's 50?
He's turning 50. All right, so we're waiting for Neil Turbin. Neil Turbin, if you're out there, can you call him there, Alan?
Neil, we're sending out the metal voice bat signal. You're the lights in the sky. Have a look up. We're waiting for you, anxiously awaiting the arrival of Neil Turbin, a West Coast correspondent.
Mm-hmm.
Neil's been with us for years and years now. It's always a pleasure to find out. Talk about enthusiasm. Oh my gosh, Neil's got enthusiasm, and we can't wait to hear what his top picks are for 2023. There's always a surprise in there, right, Jim? There's something that we weren't expecting.
There's always a surprise there. There's always a surprise there. Neil always has a surprise. I mean, I'm sure he's supposed to be we're at the 45-minute mark here. Let's see if he jumps on. Before he jumps on, Alan, let's talk about our honorable mentions, since we're trying to kill some. We're trying to kill some time. Stretch it out.
I mean, right, so some of the ones you had on your list would have made if I did a complete top 10. But then we get criticized because it's 20. It's not 10, it's 20. So we 5 and 5. Doro was a strong. For me, it was. Again, it's more hard rock, maybe melodic. I like Temple Balls, Avalanche. I've listened to them over the years, but I thought this was one of their strongest albums, Avalanche. And also Michael Abdow, who was, I think, did some guitar work for Fates Warning. He released an instrumental album called Seance in Black. And if you like Fates Warning and you like that type of, progressive guitar sound with a lot of variations, I would certainly invite you to give a listen to Michael Abdow's Seance in Black. It's really, really good.
I'll also mention this guy here. Now, this was a tough one.
I knew that would make it. I knew that would make your
honorable mention. Honorable mention. If there was a top 10 list, I would definitely. This would kind of be in number 6 or number 7. That's where it'd be. You know what? Again, just like the German power machines of Doro and Udo and the rest of them, these guys, they don't let up. Probably one of his better albums in the past 15 years, I would say. And he just keeps cranking them out. And with his son, Sven, I think he sort of brought in a new energy to the band. This is the guitar work on this album is just incredible. It's not only it's melodic and his voice is in fine form, but I could see a lot more musicianship in this album, like a lot more work on the songs versus 10 years ago, it sounded like there was a drum machine. They were just playing a couple of power chords and then he was just singing over it. But this is more of a song, well written, played album. So hats off to Udo. Definitely probably be in my like number 6 if I had a top 10 list like you. What else you got, Alan?
You know, when that album came out, what made me realize is just the sheer volume of work he's put out the last 8 years. Yeah, something like 6 albums in 8 years. If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Just, and like you said, it's like, you know, Doro. It's like Saxon. I mean, these guys, Anvil. You know, these guys are still quality work, and that's a great pick, Jim. UDO.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I prefer some of the other albums to this one, but I can see why it would make your honorable mention. I think you had a second one on your honorable mention too, if I remember.
Metal Church.
Uh-huh.
Again, if I had a top 10, this would probably be like sort of hovering at 6 and 7. Here's a band that has had so many tragedies. 2 singers have passed away, unfortunately, over the years. And you think when they're down for the count, oh my God, they're back again. Kurt Vanderhoof has this knack of picking phenomenal singers. Mark Lopes, who was the singer for Ross the Boss, now he's the singer of Metal Church. I think the way I'm going to say this is he's kept the legacy of the old band, but he's also brought in a new ingredient, sort of to bring it, to make the album more current. And, he's just put in his own little twist. And there's a part of him on this album as well as a part of the legacy of Metal Church in there.
You know, listening to that album, like I said, I think one of the songs made our top 10 list for songs of the year.
Yep.
Man, that's the Metal Church that takes you right back to their first album. I mean,
yeah,
it's they're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're doing what they've always done. And like you said, even with all the personnel changes, that core sound that Metal Church always had is still there and shines through like the first album. I mean, it's amazing that they're able to do that after all, like you said, the tragedies. So another strong album. That's I think that would have been a unanimous choice if we got in our top 10. So
agreed. Do you have anything else? I think we're gonna have to move to number 1.
We got no look-see from Neil here. So yeah, I mean, no problem.
All right, so let me get it up here. Okay, let's go to your number 1 here. So
Steel Panther.
Here we go, Alan. It's not, well, is that your honorable mention, Steel Panther?
No, I'm just joking.
Okay. All right, here we go. I'm getting the graphics ready for you. There you go.
All right, so I'm going with Reign of the Reaper by Sorcerer. So these guys have been on my radar for the last two or three of their albums. I think this is the year, right? You got to pull out the walnut. This is the year these guys deserve to be in the walnut.
There you go. Neil Turbin is coming on, but let's finish what you want to say.
You know, all the songs, I try to find a standout. They're all great. I mean, there's the Eternal Sleep, Morning Star, the lead-off track, the Underworld. They got that death metal vibe. They've got the gloom and doom. That reminds me of Tony Martin era Black Sabbath. But their songwriting and their variety has really come up a notch on this album. It was released on 27th of October. And I'm glad they released another album. They worked hard over the pandemic, and it's just a great album that everybody should check out for sure. So Sorcerer's Reign of the Reaper.
Neil?
Hey, great to see you guys.
Hey,
great
Neil.
to see you too, Neil. But before we get into that, I just want to make my comments about Alan's number 1 pick. Alan, you know what? Sorcerer, Reign of the Reaper. I have to say, Alan, I was pleasantly surprised when I put that album on. It's just a throwback to Doom, to power metal, to Sweden, to Sweden, to Sweden. Alan's been picking all these Swedish bands. They're Swedish, correct?
Whatever you say, man. I'm not getting roped into this debate.
All right, so Alan's number one pick is Sorcerer, and you know what? I think that's a really good pick, Alan. I think a lot of people need to know more about this band. It's just I was surprised. I put it on and go, wow, man, these guys are pretty good. More people should know about them, and I guess that's what it's all about, right?
Spreading the word, man. Like
spreading the word like COVID. Neil, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, Alan? How you doing, Jimmy? It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. You know, it's only been this is going on 10 years. Next year will be my 10th year with Metal
there
Voice.
you go.
Oh my Lord, we got to get you a cake. Got to get you a cake. You're getting a key to your own bathroom, Neil.
All I need is one of those little square things for the mic. That's it.
We'll get you a Metal Voice pin.
The square thing for the mic, you know. So I could be like the big grown-ups, you know.
Neil, you did a great job for us on the West Coast. We appreciate everything, and it's a pleasure to have you yet again, like you said, on our top 10 list. And we're anxiously awaiting your picks because they're always interesting, and you always got a lot to say about them. So.
Well, thank you, Alan. And yeah, we had in the past, you know, we had some interesting choices. You know, I kind of veer a little bit away from the typical usual suspects. You know, the mainstream obvious choices. You know, there's obvious choices this year, quite a few, quite a number actually. And some of my past ones, just as an example, you know, was what was it? Gosh, Riot. Why can't I think of their last part of their name? But you know who it is.
Riot Act? No, Riot City.
Riot City. Okay, so Riot City was one of the bands that I, you know, picked in the past, and some other bands that are kind of not, you know, the obvious choices, like your Metallicas and your, you know, GNRs and your AC/DCs, and you know, these are obvious choices, and Megadeth, and I mean, certainly they're great bands, you know, but the question that I like to put out there is, you know, like AC/DC is a really good example. I love AC/DC, so don't get me wrong. Every, you know, version of AC/DC has its great moments, especially for me, Bon Scott, you know, Brian Johnson. I certainly love them, but is every album the same as, you know, Back in Black? Is every album the same as Highway to Hell? You know, we kind of look at it like that. And, you know, we compare it to kind of like, maybe we expect a lot, but getting the last album from AC/DC was really fantastic because, you know, it was a lot of fun. It was great.
You didn't pick that as your 2023.
No, that's a little old. That's old by now, right? It's not 2023. But I'm just saying, like, you know, that's kind of the level that we want to kind of reach to. You know, we want to have, so I think there's part of me that says, okay, old school, you know, I really love the old school. And as you know, Jimmy, because you're aware of this, that I had picked a band that's disqualified from being in the running because it's not brand new material. It's Thin Lizzy.
Alan, show it, Alan. Look at this. Alan, show it.
And just because Alan has it, it goes to show you how badass that thing is, you know.
Look at it. Show how thick it is, Alan. Show how thick it is.
I got this on vinyl. My friends gave it to me for my 15th birthday. And when I found out they were releasing all 8 CDs from all that tour that album was based on, I couldn't wait to get it. And I can't wait to listen. I haven't opened it up yet. So
you're gonna love it. And I could just say this. I mean, it can't live as my pick for album of the year for 2023, but that is probably the greatest live album of all time. I mean, there's UFO Strangers in the Night. There's a few others that can pretty much, you know, belong in the top list, but certainly Thin Lizzy, you know, Live and Dangerous and Super Deluxe, all the cuts, all the tracks that were from, you know, the sound checks, the live shows that made that album. So for me, that's a love affair with, you know, Thin Lizzy that isn't going to go away anytime soon, ever.
So that's your honorable mention as an album that doesn't qualify, but it's an honorable mention.
That's box set of 2023. Let's say that.
That came out in January, I think, this year, and it was like you couldn't even buy it because it disappeared, you know.
Okay. So let's go with your second honorable mention.
I actually ordered it online, and then they sold out, so I didn't even get it.
They stole Alan's. They stole Alan's.
But I still heard the tracks, yeah. So
Neil, they stole Alan's. They delivered it, and then someone stole it.
Yeah,
I believe it, and that's exactly how it is in the world today.
On the porch, on the porch.
Yep, somebody stole it off the porch, exactly.
So I also wanted to mention, you know, that level of, you know, obviously, you know, to reach, you know, kind of a watermark, you know, high watermark. So with that being said, you know, Riot City being one of the picks in the past, Haunt is another band that I picked in the past, you know, one of, you know, honorable mention bands. And, you know, these are younger bands that are certainly, you know, carrying the flag. And I want to mention, I have a tie between two bands. So one is,
no ties. Are we allowed ties, Alan? What do the rules say?
well, you guys will
Oh,
have,
yeah,
Alan, what are the rules? Bring out the rules.
Come on, it's Neil.
you're going to have to hear.
Neil can have a tie.
You guys will have to decide for me then. But okay, so there's this band Sortilege that's from France.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and they have an amazing album, Apocalypso. And I mean, this band, if you look online, I think the number of views they have on their YouTube or something, like less than 2,000 or something ridiculous. But this band is fucking amazing. And they were amazing back in 1984 when I met them at the Breaking Sound Festival. I met Stefan, the original guitar player, who was, you know, really gracious and cool. And we were hanging out with Metallica and, you know, and the band that I was there with. And also, you know, all the, you know, Venom was there and Gary Moore and, you know, Dio. I mean, it was an amazing, amazing show. But hanging out with Sortilege, you know, I got to know them, and they're a great band from France, and it was in France that this festival was. And, you know, I was talking about Sortilege back then because we were at rehearsal with Rhett Forrester at the time, and Rhett was like, Sortilege, what are you talking about? You know, didn't get it. You know, he didn't understand because he never heard of Sortilege. I mean, it's a very, you know, that was the days when bands like Loudness sung in Japanese. You know, that was the days when bands from Germany sang in German. I mean, it was, you know, when the guys from Yngwie's band, they were still in Silver Mountain. So it was a cool time. You know, he was still in Alcatraz then. So the idea is that this band, this is like, we're talking 1983. They had this album and they have this song that I always loved. It was called, in English, it's called Delirium of a Madman. Check that one out if you want to check out Sortilege first. And then check out this new album, Apocalypso. I mean, it's epic. It's great songwriting, great singing, great musicianship, you know, shredding, and, you know, great drum sound. I mean, the band sounds great. I mean, just fantastic. I love it. And, you know, I found it late in the game, to be honest. But I also wanted to give credit to a newer band that...
Wait, Neil, wait. Let me just add to that.
Yes,
because I remember the Metamorphose album back in '84 when it came out. Sortilege, loved it. Never had the money to purchase it. So when I saw this, I had a preview of your pick. Thank you for picking that because it gave me a chance to listen to their new album. I didn't even know they had a release, and it's just as strong as that album I remember back in '84. So a great band out of France. I guess next year we'll be looking for the new Trust album, I guess.
Yeah, and you guys speak French, right? So you can...
I can translate the lyrics for you. I was thinking about that today, Neil. I said, if Neil wants me to translate the lyrics, I'll be happy to do that for him.
Yeah, I mean, I just love it. It's that good that it's epic. It's you know, some of it is symphonic. Some of it, you know, bordering on that. It's even soundtrack worthy in some cases. You know, heavy. Definitely got the heavy, the brutal.
And we should mention they sing in French.
Yes,
like completely in French.
They have sung in English before, but it's kind of like, you know, with a heavy accent. So it's like I don't mind.
You know, Neil, it says a lot about a singer and a way people write songs that when you do it in another language and people still like it, it says a lot about how well constructed the melody really is. That language doesn't matter.
Yes, exactly true, and that's the universal language of music. That is what makes the connection from here to here, like B.B. King said to me once. And that is exactly what we're talking about. And if it can reach you, no matter how it does, then, you know, that's the job, that's the intention in the first place. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's what the song, that's what a great piece of music should do. Like, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody, you know, I mean, that's what it should do. So this band that's from Hungary, okay?
Wait, hold on a second. We're still on Sortilege here. Let me just say that I heard about them and I go, let me just put this on because Neil suggested it, right?
Yeah.
Holy crap, these guys are really good. So it was I want to just say that you had a great pick, Neil. And you know what? I really enjoyed it. I understood the lyrics, but at the same time, I found that it's got because they sing in another language, just like Rammstein, right? It gives it a different flavor. You know, it just gives it a different flavor. So that's what makes it cool. Yeah,
Sortilege, you know, Stefan, he gave me 2 shirts. I had like a t-shirt and a sweatshirt back then, which was very generous, you know, gift for someone you just met. And, you know, I wore it all the time. I love Sortilege. And, you know, I was talking about Sortilege before I got to France in '84, a week after leaving Anthrax. And then while I was in France, you know, that's all they heard from me was Sortilege, because I mean, I heard this Delirium of a Madman song, and I was just like, and D'ailleurs, and you know, both the first album and second album, and at that time they had an album out in '83. So they're a brilliant band, and they're a band that's been underrated. They haven't gotten, you know, the credit that's due, and I think it's time that they definitely get a lot of credit because they're still doing it. And how many years later is it?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
at
exactly.
the same level, and they've grown.
So who's your other number one there? Because we'll get the votes happening here.
Yeah. So I just had to express the fact that I am an old school guy, as you know. I mean, that's pretty obvious, and it's hard to hide that. So I had to go with Sortilege, but also a band that I also thought was really deserving of a high rank was a band that's from Hungary. And this band is a frontiers band of all things. And, you know, they're pretty, they have some commercial sounding music, but they're also quite, you know, melodic and heavy at the same time and shredding. And this band is called Stardust.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember the name of A Kingdom of
Illusion.
And
because I had it right on the.
I got Michael Schenker in my head, Victim of Illusion. But
or Delusion.
Illusion is a great album. It has, you know, there's a couple of singles that are already videos that Frontiers has on their website, and you know, Heroes. It's a great song, and also In Fire or The Fire. And that one is just, you know, also very well written. At first, you know, I listened to it and I thought, you know, it was reminding me of Dawkinish kind of sounds, but the singer actually kind of gives me some Bryan Adams vibes in his voice.
Ooh.
It wasn't really like a, you know, one of these super high vocal singers, but it was a nice kind of approach, you know, really, you know, something maybe not exactly what you expect from a power metal band with the super high vocals, which they're not. You know, they're more of an AOR type of band, but they're heavy. And I just think, you know, bands like that understand, you know, the 80s, and they understand, you know, that appeal, but they're also modern in a sense. They have some modern impact as well in their songwriting. And before I forget, I just wanted to mention a couple of quick thoughts, okay, really quick, so we could elaborate on it. But Jimmy, in the last show, which was part 1, you know, that was 10 through, I don't know, you got all the way up to 3. I thought you were going.
We messed that all up. We butchered it. You know, we just butchered it all.
You guys left me with a few pieces of chips in the bowl left, huh? In the walnut, a few pieces of walnut left. But one of the people that passed away that was a huge one for me, because I saw him live at the Palladium in New York City, was Jeff Beck. I know he's not exactly considered heavy metal, but you know, he's everything. You know, he could play anything, and certainly, you know, that was one I wanted to mention, give remembrance to. And also, there was a few songs that were released. You guys did a show on the top songs of 2023, and there's some songs that really truly deserve to be talked about or at least touched upon. And I don't have to get deep into it, but just to touch on it. So the first one out of the batch, there's 3. And that would be.
Well, let me set it up. Neil's top 3 songs of 2023. Number 3.
These songs were, you know, incredible to me. And I thought, of all people, how is this band going to write something that stands up to, you know, songs that you expect and that even that I covered, you know, I'm 18 or School's Out for Summer or No More Mr. Nice Guy. How is somebody going to, you know, write a career-defining song that's going to stand up to that same level that we talked about with AC/DC? Same, you know, is it up, Thin Lizzy, you know, is it up to that same level? And that song is Welcome to the Show. I mean, Alice Cooper absolutely nailed it with that song, and I was blown away. I was like, this is exactly, you know, if you listen to this,
off of his album Road that was released in 2023. Go ahead.
I didn't pick the album as a top pick for the year because there's other songs, but that song to me is, you know, career defining. It defines who he is and what he does and how he does it, and it's amazing, and it's well written, and it's very catchy, and you know, it's brilliant, and it's a perfect song for his concert. You know, you would hope to see that in his set list. Another band that I had to also give recognition to, 2 of them. One of them is number two,
Neil.
Number two. This is not even number 2. This is just.
Well, we'll say it's number 2.
There's no way that it's number 2, and you'll.
Right.
So the band has two of my friends in the band, and on the album at least, and they're playing on the tour.
Mm-hmm.
And also someone that I also played with on bass
Mm-hmm.
for, and so I know the drummer and the guitar player, and that is Bruce Dickinson. You know, the Ragnarok. I'm trying to remember the full title.
The Mandrake Project, but it's oh my god, the Afterglow of Ragnarok.
Afterglow of Ragnarok. Yeah, Mandrake Project.
It's a mouthful.
Afterglow of Ragnarok. I mean, of course we expect great things from Bruce Dickinson, but this was very, this is like, wow, you hear that and it's like, it's very deep and it's very epic. And it's also, this is like a book, this is not just like, it's super, this is like a rock opera or something. It's super deep.
And you're friends with Roy Z. You did an interview with Roy Z this year too.
Roy, and also Dave Chili Moreno, the drummer. I just saw Dave on the weekend. So,
all right.
Great guy, great band, and also a bass player. I jammed with her once. So it's great. It's crazy that how great that song was, in my opinion. And I'm not going to run out just because it's Iron Maiden and say, I'm going to get this album, but I was impressed. Really, it was flooring. And then another one, which also deserves.
Is this the number one? Is this Neil Turbin's number one song? Okay, wait. I want to say it's Neil's turn number one. Alan?
Number one song of the year as for Neil Turbin.
No, it wasn't.
Hold on a second.
The other one was
number one for Neil Turbin.
No, the Alice Cooper one definitely to me was.
Oh, yeah, that's number one. So we give. What do we give the walnut to? Alice Cooper or which one?
We're gonna give that walnut to Sorcerer and to Stardust.
Okay.
And that's who deserves it for album of the year.
No, you don't.
And
the little walnut goes to this next one.
Stardust. I think I know who you're talking about.
Also has a friend of mine as a singer for the band, Jacob Bunton, and that is Mick Mars. He has two songs, one that just came out, but the first one about lies, Kingdom of Lies. What is it called? You don't remember?
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, it's a brilliant song, and
it was good. It's good. Definitely.
I thought that people may not be used to they're used to Motley Crue, but I thought that it was not only modern; it had a modern element, but it also had a very authentic element. And I thought for Mick Mars, it was really a step in an artistic direction, which it defines him, further into his career. I think it's something that's a next step, and it's unfortunate the things that went down with Motley Crue. It's a big corporation, and there's crazy people obviously running the kitchen there. So who knows? So I mean, I'm not trying to take a shot at it. I'm just saying, it's like it's
Neil Turbin says Motley Crue is a big corporation. Next headline.
It's a big business, a lot of money, a lot of I mean, there's a lot of decisions, and Mick's not in that band anymore. So I mean, for whatever reason that you can't, we're on the outside, so we don't know.
I agree with you, Neil. The Mick Mars songs were good. I agree.
He was a driving force in Motley Crue. He was a key songwriter and someone who was, an equal share and a very important part of that band. And to me, it's a shame that he's not in Motley Crue, because I think it brings a certain authenticity, a certain quality. It's kind of like when you have a band that has, one remaining member or not even any remaining member, or maybe there's two, and it's not, the songwriting is totally different now. So I don't know how they'll ever go back. I mean, John 5 is great. I love John 5's play, and I love his musicality, but it's different. It's a different band. It's like Van Halen. Once they had, a different singer or different people, different bass player, it's just not the same thing. At least not to me, or Thin Lizzy for that matter. How can you replace Phil Lynott? Although there are some great people that followed, but it's still not the same band. So really,
where are we?
His direction with his music. You can't expect Motley Crue from his writing. He probably could have written songs like Girls, 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 or, Kickstart My Heart if he wanted to do what he already did a bunch of times over. But I think his writing is at the top of the line, really. And Alice Cooper as well. I mean, just brilliant. And, and Bruce Dickinson, just brilliant, concept. His concept is brilliant. I mean, it's fantastic. And, Mick Mars deserves that credit as well. I mean, he's absolutely.
It's interesting, and Alan, maybe you could weigh in on this. It sounds a lot like 6 a.m. in a way.
Yeah,
Mick Mars songs.
Nikki Sixx is on record saying Mick Mars is his favorite guitarist. Got a tattoo of his face on his leg, and I wouldn't want his solo album to sound like Motley Crue, so I'm glad it doesn't. And I don't hear 6 a.m. influence, and I'm a huge 6 a.m. fan. But I didn't really give it that much of a listen. You could be right, Jim. I didn't hear it at first.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great albums this year. There's a lot of a lot of output from bands, and in fact, I had an album that wasn't a whole.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. It's called "Loyal to the Lie."
That's great.
Thank you,
great,
Lucha,
great,
who
great
wrote
song.
that in. Yeah, and there's another one too. There's a second one.
And I also talked to Jacob about trying to interview him, and he said, after Mick does his interviews, then we can talk about it, but next year. And I had the same question for Dave Chili Moreno about trying to talk to Bruce. That's a hard one to pin down
Bruce,
as well.
Bruce is busy.
Have you guys ever interviewed Bruce?
We're trying.
Still in. We're on the list, but it's a long list.
That's the hot list.
All right, guys, you ready? Neil, we got your picks. We got your songs. We got your albums. I think we got one left. I got mine, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Should I bring out the walnut? Because actually it's in the walnut.
Bring out the walnut. What's in there, man? You got any evergreen in there? What's going on?
There you go.
Guys, since Alan is not at my house, Alan, pretend like you're passing it to me. Okay? You ready? Okay, ready? Because this is no, the other way. The other way. Push that way. Yes. Thank you, Alan. Neil, you want to touch it, Neil? Just let me bring it down here. Just go put your hands up that way. Hands up that way. No, the other way. The other way. Up
You're
now.
Really dragging it out, Jim.
Okay, there we go. There he's touching it there. There you go. Okay, good. There we go. So in this walnut, we have Alan. Alan picked back again to Sorcerer. Neil picked as his number one. There was a tie, right? But what's inside the walnut for me? What is this beauty? What's inside this beauty, guys? What is the protocol, Alan? What do we do again? What do we do again? Can you hear the echo in the walnut?
Sounds like something's in there.
Guys, you know what? This is actually all year round. I have it like in a secured area. My wife gets mad at me because I pay about $200 to put this in a sort of like a vault, in a sense. It's like a vault. And every year I have these guards who take it out with the, bricks, and they bring it to my house. And here it is. And this is what we're going to see. This is my pick. And I'll let you guys weigh in after I give my 2 cents. My number one pick for 2023. Drum roll, Alan. Yeah. Drum roll.
That's as close as you get.
KK's Priest.
The sinner rides again.
Rides again. There you go. And a lot of people are saying, KK, it's very polarizing, I find.
Did he out Priest?
I'm sorry? Did he out Priest? That's right. First of all, people criticize him for the name. I think, you know what? He was 1/3 of Priest. He deserves to have Priest in his name. He is KK, so might as well put Priest. This album is relentless. And when you think of heavy metal, this is heavy metal. When you're in your car, you just keep pressing the gas more and more. The more this album is played, it's just Ripper. There's just so many things to say about this. Ripper finally found his home. Ripper's always been in so many bands. This is the band for him. This is what Judas Priest should have made if Ripper would have continued after Demolition. I just love this album. And I think of my most played album of the year, this probably would be it. Never a dull moment. Yeah, sure, the lyrics might be a little corny sometimes, but it doesn't matter. The sheer energy, the sheer musicality of the whole band. And Neil, you probably know a couple of these guys, right?
Oh, yeah.
From the drummer, right? What's his name? AJ, not AJ. AJ's the guitarist. Hold on. Is it AJ Mills guitar, Tony Newton bass guitar, and Sean Elk? That's who I was thinking of. Sean Elk on drums. And my God, these guys are a force to be reckoned with. And I'm sure if they play in your town, people will just go wild. I don't know what else to say about this, but you guys, if you want to weigh in, go right ahead.
I mean, Ripper did a fantastic job. I mean, he lifted it up, and of course, KK is a major force coming from Judas Priest. I mean, a co-songwriter, someone who was part of their originality to begin with. So yeah, you can kind of expect that KK would bring something fierce and with high energy and integrity and consistency and on a level. And actually, I knew this girl. Her name was Kim, who's Asian lady, very nice girl, and this was back in like I got to say, sometime in the 80s, and I was with a lady named Lucy Forbes, who I first met when I came out and played in the country club, Heavy Metal Night Productions, and she was hanging out with Kim, and that was actually KK's girlfriend. So she was, you know, they were driving, you know, unfortunately, she died on a head-on collision on Laurel Canyon, but it was KK's girlfriend, so I would see her, and, you know, I didn't see KK, but I did meet KK once at the Limelight, him and Glenn Tipton, when I went backstage with John Zazula one time. It was a great wide opening for Priest at the Madison Square Garden. So we actually, as a band, we went backstage and it was cool. And then we hung out with, I had the opportunity to kind of hang out with KK at the Limelight. So this was interesting for me. You know, I was still pretty young, you know, just, it was brand new, you know, it was probably 1983 or 2 or 4. Or, it's hard to even remember exactly when that was if I look it up.
It would have been the Defenders of the Faith tour, a great
Yeah,
white
Defenders of the
open.
Faith.
I saw that.
That's what it was.
84.
It was Defenders of the Faith. You're right on, Alan. Boom,
Yeah.
right on point. So
Nice.
I did see Screaming for Vengeance tour with Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast opening up. That was pretty phenomenal. But getting a chance to actually meet Halford at that time, that's the only time I met him. I did see him at Lemmy's funeral, but I met him when I was backstage that time, talked to him, shook his hand. And then also, you know, just hanging out with KK. And he was kind of a happy-go-lucky guy backstage, as far as I know. I mean, not backstage, at the Limelight. They were running around, you know, they were drinking a little bit, and they were just having a good time. So it was like very lighthearted. It was fun people. You know, Judas Priest, as I'd never seen him before, you know, hanging out at a club, hanging out with me and John Zazula and the rest of the band, my band at the time. And then I also knew another side to Judas Priest, which was from this guy, Jonathan Fallon. He's a drummer who played on Under the Stage at Turbo. One time he told me a story. Nico McBrain was walking by and he saw him. He heard, you know, obviously double bass, and it's like, you know, Dave Holland's on the stage playing single kick, and it's like, where's that, you know, Painkiller kind of stuff coming from?
We're veering off there, Neil. We're veering off. Let's go back.
Here's my point. So my point is this. It's that they were very hardcore businessmen. So in other words, when it came to, you know, don't tell anyone, signing a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, and, you know, you can't tell anyone you're playing Under the Stage. I mean, there was a time where they did Turbo. They were, you know, doing a lot of other people's songwriting and stuff, you know, trying to, you know, business. That's what it was. And, you know, he didn't stay with Judas Priest for long. He was in the band for a tour or maybe longer. But I heard that it was no walk in the park doing business with the organization from that standpoint, you know, as a person who's doing it. So I'm like, whoa, you know, like, I love Judas Priest. They were really nice, lighthearted guys hanging out with them. And then I'm hearing, you know, his version.
But let's go back to KK. Let's go back to KK.
Yeah, so KK,
let's go back.
you know,
let's go this guy.
I'm sure that he has very high expectations. So in other words, working with KK, I'm sure, you know, it's very demanding and high expectations. So yeah, I can see how he comes out with a fantastic album because he has a very high level of expectations, and you know, he's used to working at that high level, and it's not a surprise. That's what
I mean. The guitar work's unbelievable on it. Ripper, we all know he can sing, but I mean, I think he tries out to do Halford on this. This high notes he's singing. I don't care about the name. I don't care about the name that it has a Sinners in it. He's allowed to do whatever he wants. And it's a great album to listen to. KK, I mean, he's doing all that guitar work. I don't know who's playing which solos or what, but it's really impressive when it comes to the guitar work and songwriting, like you said.
Guys, this album is just the experience of each player on this album is bar none. I mean, the experience KK brings to this band, the experience Ripper brings to the band, and AJ and Sean, who was a drummer, I guess you worked with, right, Neil? These guys are just the sheer magnitude of the experience of these guys, bar none. Like, people could say, oh, it's not Priest and this, oh, it's cliche. Let me tell you, get a young band to sound like this. I don't think so. You do not hear up and coming bands sound like this. This is like pure experience, and each song is well crafted. So hats off to them.
Yeah, KK is uncompromising. I mean, he has, you know, the knowledge after how many great albums, great songs he's written, and, you know, awards and so forth. And I wanted to say this also, that I had the pleasure this year of playing with Tim Ripper Owens for the second time, singing with him on stage. We sang a bunch of songs together. We did a show in Romania in the middle of summer, but I also played with him back in 2005 in Mexico, because he was gracious enough to join my band on stage and sing one of my songs with me back then. So I just, Tim's always been a stand-up guy, and I think he's taken a lot of crap, from, when you fill the shoes of someone who, you're the replacement singer. I mean, it's a tough role to take, and
Tim, he is one of those replacement singers that was just as good as the original singer. You know what I mean? And he's even, I wouldn't say he's better, but Halford's amazing, and Ripper is on the same level as a professional singer, right, Neil? This Absolutely. Ripper is not a half-ass singer. He is we've seen him, me and Alan. We've talked to Ripper. The guy's a professional. He's funny. He can write songs. He's the whole deal. And you know what? It's amazing that KK has joined forces with him, and I hope that they keep cranking out great music.
Yeah, it was a maybe an obvious choice, since he worked with Judas Priest, so there's some, thoughts in that respect.
I think there was unfinished business, because on Demolition and Jugulator, they came out in times when metal was really not doing well. These are two albums that I love, by the way, but it didn't catch on because of those albums. I'm sure if KK's Priest album was released back in the 90s, or maybe it would have done a lot better for the name of Judas Priest at the time instead of Jugulator Demolition. It's heavy metal, man. It's friggin' heavy metal that we love.
All right. There we go.
That's it, guys. We'll show the walnut one more, and that wraps up another year, guys. Here it is. This is whatever, and I will now put it away. Back
in the vault.
Back in the vault.
So hopefully we've all had some homework to do. We've all learned some new bands. Stardust is one I'm going to check out right away. And that's what the show is all about, right? Learning and appreciating new music. So.
Neil, I want to thank you for all that you do. We should say that. I mean, thank you. Thank you for being there. And that's it.
And thank you, Solo Dallas, for making some awesome pedals.
There you go. Stay well, Neil.
A word from our sponsor.
Show the shirt again. Show the shirt.
One more time.
There you go.
There it is. Okay. Solo Dallas.
There it is. You might as well. All right, guys.
All right. Stay
Thanks.
well.
Have a nice night, everybody.